What's up, everybody? Just here talking about home inspections and hitting 5,000 subscribers on the channel. It's pretty exciting for me and to you, hopefully, because you joined because you liked it for some reason. So I'm curious about what videos made you join. What was it? My neighbor's stuff over here? Was it my home inspecting stuff? Hopefully, I do a bunch of weird videos. I get it. But what made you join? I had a video go pretty good that actually bumped me into monetization at the end of December, and that was my House of Horrors video. That did really well. Got a lot of cool comments on it, a lot of traction on that video, and it was a it was a beat up house. That's for sure. Bruised every which way. So I think they ended up buying it. I think they just got a reduction in the price on that one. So we like to go back and kind of find out what happens at these home inspections and see if I can find how much money did I save, how much did the client save, how much did they negotiate. But most of the time we don't know. This time, just this week, I went back on a reinspection and I just uploaded the video the other day, and they had some repairs done, and they weren't, necessarily what we requested as home inspectors, but they did fix it, so we communicated that to the buyer that it should have been approved repairs, but they never were approved. There's a bunch of different stuff that we go over on the channel, from re-inspections to home inspections to neighborly disputes, and I'm curious what sparked your interest in hitting the thumbs up. Which one was it? I'm just hanging out in my backyard here in Phoenix, finally getting some rain. It's been a couple months since it's gotten wet, but it's the ground is just dry. It's dusted. It's filthy outside. I got Jerry the cat running around out here. He's probably going to knock over the phone. But so a little history of me. I've been inspecting in Arizona since 2019. I went to Inspection Training Institute, Inspection Training Center in Chandler, run by, I think it was Keith Smith. Great guy. Dominic was one of my teachers. I think he still teaches there. That was, I think 2018. We went through the classes, and then 2019 I technically got my parallels done and started home inspecting, making money home inspecting. So the requirements in Arizona are you get the class time, which isn't too much. It's like 2 weeks. You can get it in 2 weeks. I think it did weekend classes over the course of like 2 months or something like that. Or maybe it was 1 month, 2 days every weekend. So you get that done, and then you have 30 parallel inspections, which you go out in the field with somebody for 30 inspections, and you write a report alongside of them so they can compare the report side by side and see if you kind of understand what you're doing. They're not very critical about them, that's for sure. But they want to know that you kind of understand the concept of it. A lot of home inspecting comes with just being in the field longer, talking to more people, learning more things. Getting educated with experience is the best way to, learn in our profession. But I went through that training, met a really close friend named Randy. He got out of training, I got out of training. I started my business, Property Inspections Plus, and I did, like a dozen inspections in a couple months, but it was slow. It was nerve-wracking. I was not very excited to market myself. It was pretty tough back then. I was trying to learn inspecting and market myself at the same time. It wasn't fun. Home inspecting is, you got to know people. You just have to be doing it for a while to know enough people to recommend you in the future, because it's, unless you're really good at YouTube or Instagram, you get a lot of home buyers reaching out to you. It's your referrals are coming from buyer's agents, like 95% of them. At least mine have been. So anyway, yeah, I did the property inspections plus thing, but then I talked to my buddy Randy, and he said, I work over here at BPG Inspections, and it's a pretty cool company. It's national company, many inspectors. I think there was like 350 when I started in 2019. Yeah, I think it was July of 2019. And so it was one of those situations where Randy got a little kickback for a while on everything that I did. So because he brought me to the table, the Randy got a little bit of extra commission, which I was like, yeah, it's kind of wishy-washy, but I needed stability in a company. I needed some training. I needed to train next to people that could help me become a better inspector instead of just throwing me out to the wolves. And I felt like that team was a really good fit, both between Randy and Larry and David and Brian. They were all really good helps, and even Anthony, when I first got started, he was great too. He helped me on one of my first custom build homes, which I think was for a basketball player or something. It was like $3 million home up in Paradise Valley, and I was like, I'll do the outside, you do the inside, and it worked out great. So I did that. Started with BPG because I just couldn't handle it, the stress of being on my own. So it was slow for a little bit. And then that first year, my manager went through some really bad health episodes, and he had to have surgery. So my schedule got pretty full pretty quick. He had a lot of extra inspections that could come my way. So I started doing them, and I built a decent reputation with a lot of clients. And then his health came back, and he regained a lot of his clients, and I still had a handful of my own. I did a lot of open houses. That's how I've met a lot of my real estate agents. It's about the best way for me to do it. There's a lot of open houses on Saturday and Sunday around here, and I could just drive for within 5 miles and hit 10. I think they're annoyed when I do it, but there's no other home inspectors that really do it either. So it puts me in front of a few people. So I worked with BPG Inspections. I did their fast track inspector. I was a fast track inspector, which I was kind of accelerated by my manager not being at work, and I got a lot of his work. But it was good. I didn't get too many complaints. I got a few small claims, nothing huge. But I kept pestering my manager about doing sewer cams, and David was too. He was another inspector down here with BPG. He'd been with BPG for a long time. BPG Inspections, if you didn't know, had bought out Land America Home Inspections. I think it was Land America down here, several years before I started with them. And some people from them just graduated into the new company, BPG. So David and I got the opportunity or the privilege to run the pilot program for sewer camera inspections for BPG. So they bought us 2 sewer cameras. We wanted to make some extra money on the side because we didn't have the market share that we wanted. So we were doing, 200 or so inspections a year. So if we could just add some extra money and extra credentials on what we do, we'll just make more money at the inspection, and we'll kind of be compensated for it. Our prices were really low, and we were just doing mediocre scans. And when we first started, we got more experienced as time went on, and we started doing better reports, and eventually the company felt comfortable with it, and we started making money doing it and helping a lot of people find a lot of problems. We were pushing sewer cameras as much as we can, because you just don't know. If you don't have a camera down there in the pipes, you don't know what it looks like. Even if it's a new home, if it's 50 years old, doesn't matter. If you're not looking, you're not seeing anything. So most of the time what I do is I just stick a camera down, and I'm just looking for the big things. I'm looking for a blockage. I'm looking for big cracks. I'm looking for things that are going to cost my client a lot of money. I'm not really too concerned about, well, there's not much you can't see. If there's some roots in there, I'll call out the roots, but I'll make it a consideration item. Like, there's some roots in there, but it's not a blockage. You probably want to get your pipes cleaned. Get a plumber in to get them cleaned, but it's functional. So we were making good money doing sewer cams. It was very confusing working with the office because when they scheduled the appointments for the sewer camera inspections, a lot of the schedulers wouldn't ask for the locations of the cleanouts, and the cleanouts are the pipes in the front of the house where we can put our camera down and get a good visual underneath the house or out to the street. And if we can't find the cleanouts, we either go up to the roof, or we were in the beginning pulling toilets, which we found out was kind of a liability as a home inspector because we're not plumbers, right? So if we have to pull a toilet, we're just going to cancel the sewer camera inspection and recommend a plumber, which I was okay with because I didn't want to break a toilet. I've broken one, and I tell you, I went out and bought that same toilet. It was a brand new house. Luckily, it was a cheap flip, and this toilet was like $95 at Home Depot. So I went out and got it, brought it back. I had that toilet installed before the walkthrough. It was just like I was bleeding out of my fingers because I was picking up the porcelain. I felt like really bad that the house was a mess and they had kids coming over for the walkthrough, so I made sure to clean it up really good, the best I could. But the toilet was fully functional when it went back in, and it wasn't installed any worse. It's one of my craziest stories ever, but everything was good about that. I'm sure every inspector has a weird story. But our scheduling department also was screwing up on CBS codes. So we get this little lockbox app on our phone where we get a code from the listing agent to get access to the house for home inspection. And there's 7 digits in the CBS code, all the time. It's always 7 digits. It's never been 6 or 5 or 8. And they kept giving me 6-digit codes, and I'm just like, come on. So I was getting very frustrated with that, and I was frustrated because I was giving them such a large percentage of what I was bringing in because it wasn't as much. I was doing fewer inspections. I've never been a high volume home inspector. I tend to spend longer on an inspection, but I'm not as busy as the next person. My company that I worked with before, BPG Inspections, now I don't hold them at fault. I worked for them. I agreed to work for them, but they pay for your business cards and they pay for your brochures. And if you do a couple things like your memberships for associations like Sebra or WeServe, the real estate organizations, they even pay for the super key, but they don't pay for any marketing. So all your marketing, they count on you to go out and market for yourself. And most home inspectors know that's the only way you're going to get your business is if you go out and talk to more agents. So rightfully so, it's tough though, because you're not getting any support from them to get more inspections. And they were starting to feed me some of these relocation inspections that were like 70% of our already pretty low rate. And it was very complicated to write these reports on like this old software. There wasn't a good template for it. You know, we were using HomeGauge. I think it was a 2018 version made specifically for our company, and I liked using HomeGauge, but it was dated. It was all PDF files, so you couldn't share like video, you couldn't share links in the report. So it was kind of dated. We couldn't use mobile because it was so hot down here in Arizona. Our manager thought it wasn't a good idea to use the mobile version on our phone because our phones would overheat. So it was very frustrating for me wanting to do the mobile version, being so mobile friendly and taking pictures on my phone. It just made sense, but I never did get to do that with BPG. It was all take pictures on the phone, download them on the computer, do the report on the computer when you get home because I just didn't have time on site. And I was getting frustrated because our rates were low and my percentage was low, but I didn't feel good enough just doing a hour and a half long inspection. I felt like I had to give a little bit more. I felt like instead of a 15 to 20 minute walkthrough, which we were kind of instructed to do, I was spending an hour with clients. I was getting good feedback, but I was showing them everything. I was really trying to get to know them and help them understand their house instead of just being like, here's your problems, see you later. And I get it's a different train of mind, but you take that train of inspector that's kind of what do you want to call it, track house type inspector. I mean, you'll get them to come through and they'll find the big defects, but they might not spend all the time with you because we're doing 2 to 3 inspections a day. How much can you really do when you're doing 3 inspections a day? How thorough can you be? How much time can you spend with a client if you're doing 3 inspections a day? I would rather take 50% more money and spend an extra hour or 2 with my client and make sure that they understand everything, and when they get the report, they're not surprised. So I was doing my reports into the wee hours of the night, and then my checks were low, and it was my fault for not marketing myself more too, but it came down to like money. It was me driving around all the weekend trying to, do open houses and stuff. I didn't know how else to do it. And that's kind of what got me into doing YouTube videos and Instagram. And I met a lot of good agents on Instagram that have used me in the past, and I haven't heard from them in a while. I don't know if it's because of the market or because they're found somebody else, but that's kind of our business. We're doing the best we can, and we might not hear from an agent, and we don't know unless we contact them. We got to reach out and say, hey, everything okay? Are you still in the business? We're not going to ask you if you found somebody else, but please tell us if you did. That's fine. At least we'll know that you're still doing good, and we might be your backup. I don't know. If we did something wrong, let us know. We all screw up. We're all human. Give us a chance to correct it. Even if you don't use us again, maybe we can be better for the next person. Most of us really, really do want to just improve on what we do. And I've done a couple things. I've been called out on ladder marks on the wall going up into the attic. These freshly painted new homes, they're bright white. And then I'm up there touching all this stuff in the attic, and these attics in Phoenix are filthy. So when I come down, all my fingerprints get all over the ceiling hatch, attic hatch. And people don't really like it. And I get it, because you got to get up there on a ladder and clean it off. And it was a mishap on my part. So that won't happen again. I've missed a couple small things in the 1,000 inspections or so I've done. I think I'm right around 1,000 inspections in about 6 years. See, I'm not a high volume inspector. I wish to do more, and I hope to do more on YouTube. I hope to do more walkthrough videos for everybody, the full-length walkthrough videos. I think I try to make them as educational as I can for people that are moving to Arizona from out of state. Like, I moved here 8 years ago with my wife from Oregon at that time, but we were originally from North Dakota. So it's different, different climate, different people. You're not used to what you're looking at on the house, where the shutoffs are. What the hell, the electrical panels outside? Who does that? Concrete tile roof? What is that? So you got to educate people that, yeah, you're underlayment underneath the concrete tile roof. That's what you got to think about. The electrical panels on the outside, in case your house gets on fire, they can turn the electrical off. There's certain things down here in Arizona that we just do different, and it's fun educating people on them and seeing their reaction, and I get a kick out of it. But anyway, I'm going to cut this live, and thank you guys so much for doing this thing, the thumbs up. I'm hoping to, actually, my plans for the channel are to travel the country and interview other inspectors. I think there's a lot of knowledge that we're going to lose from some of our experienced inspectors unless we can pass that knowledge on, and the further we can pass that knowledge on, the better. And I think we have a lot of home inspectors out here that are on their own, they're solo, doing all these solo videos by themselves, and they're creative and they're very interesting, but I think it would make a lot more sense for me to just go out and interview them and spend a day and learn what they're doing, how they're doing things in a different place. Just like I'm trying to teach people when they move to Arizona how to live down here. I want to know what it's like living in other parts of the country. I'm tired of the stucco box. Show me some bricks, show me some, aluminum siding, something different. Some mobile homes. I don't care. So if you're an inspector somewhere and I've reached you on Instagram, YouTube, follow me over there, Home Inspector Dan, Property Inspections Plus. you probably